Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, comedian Shane Gillis destroys the woke SP Awards. And is Seattle about to do broken windows? The left is going to lose it. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
So King County, Washington, just the other day, doubled down on its sanctuary status. So let me make sure I got this right. You want to keep all the murderers, child rapists, drug dealers here? You guys never, ever, 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 ever again get to complain about crime. You know what you also never get to complain about? Fentanyl and drugs and homelessness and all that. Because all of it is also a symptom of this problem. If you have a bunch of drug dealers running around here, protecting their turf, and then giving it to the homeless, selling it to the homeless, guess what, guys? Here is a solution to deal with it. By actually just prosecuting the criminals. You know, if you want to have a nuanced discussion about people's housekeepers or people who are actually picking crops, which that's a whole nother discussion. I know the Democrats don't want to give up their slaves, especially children on pot farms in California. But if you want to have a nuanced discussion, that can be had. Democrats are not interested in a nuanced discussion. So, press secretary was highlighting some of the illegal alien criminals that were arrested and deported under the Trump administration.
With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country. ICE Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested an illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe.
You think it's just in other cities? This was 4 hours ago by our very own Border Patrol, our very own ICE here in Seattle. Fernando Munoz Garcia, 45, is a citizen of Mexico arrested near Yakima, Washington. He has been convicted of rape of a child in the third degree and DUI. Lukas Krzysztof Smola, 44, citizen of Poland, arrested by ICE Seattle after release from federal prison. Smola has multiple arrests with convictions for burglary, drug possession, DUI, and federal conviction for illegal re-entry. Why was he released from prison? ICE Seattle arrested Victor Kompachenko Beltran, 34, who is illegally present in the U.S., and he has been charged with domestic violence, domestic violent assault, burglary, and possession of a stolen firearm. I thought Democrats hate guns. Can we just make sure we got that? So, we're not just talking about this happening across the country, we're talking about it right here. Now, something else fascinating is going on. You know those ads you keep hearing from the government with Kristi Noem's voice in them, talking about how you can self-deport and then you get to come back to the United States? Well, apparently, they're working. Stephen Miller was over on Jesse Waters' show on Fox News last night. Here's what he said.
Under Trump, all job gains have gone to Americans. Looking at labor force data, we believe there's already been 1 million self-deportations. Wow. So we are well on our way here. If we stay the course, Jesse, and if illegal aliens understand the consequences of staying versus the opportunities of leaving, we're going to see millions and millions more self-deportations. Because if you stay, here's the consequences. You face sudden arrest, sudden deportation, you face the potential garnishment of all of your income, all of your wages, the loss of your property, incarceration and imprisonment for immigration and other crimes. If you choose to self-deport, you can go back home. You do have the opportunity to apply for legal entry if you wish to do so in the future, and you're going to get a $1,000 check on your way out.
Over 1 million people have self-deported already. Over 1 million people. Do you see how successful this is? And by the way, they're the ones that want to come back. They're the ones who are self-deporting because they say, well, if we get caught, it's not worth it. But if we self-deport, we'll get to come back. Now, you know this lie that the Democrats keep talking about? That, oh, there's no illegal aliens who are getting taxpayer-funded assistance. They're not getting Medicaid. They're not getting SNAP. They're not getting any of those benefits. I bet you today the Democrats are all upset at Pramila Jayapal. Why? She did an interview with some show, and when she's doing the interview, she busted that narrative wide open.
Yesterday, I was at a food bank in my district talking about the SNAP cuts, the horrible SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts. And they told me that people are not even showing up to Head Start where they get their food. They're not showing up to the food banks because they're afraid. And it's not just undocumented immigrants. It is people of all legal statuses. It's undocumented immigrants who have been here for 20 years.
Whoa. I thought they weren't getting taxpayer benefits. I thought, why are we cutting this? They're not getting them. It's illegal for them to get Medicaid. Well, we know that Washington State is spending $150 million on just Medicaid for illegal aliens. We discussed that ad nauseum yesterday on yesterday's show. You can get the podcast over at kvi.com. But Pramila Jayapal just said the quiet part out loud and busted the Democrat narrative. So what you're saying is that illegal aliens are getting assistance from U.S. taxpayers in violation of the law, by the way. So thanks for clearing that up for all of us. Oh, what a dummy head saying the quiet part out loud. Now, who made the announcement about King County doubling down on their sanctuary status? It was King County Council member Teresa Mosqueda.
Now, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Teresa Mosqueda, you remember she was on the Seattle City Council, then went to the King County Council, and we don't hear from her much anymore. But let's remember what we used to hear from Teresa Mosqueda. Remember when she used to riot with Antifa against the police officers of the city she claimed she was representing? You remember that? You remember when she did that? You remember when she said she's standing next to some lunatic with a bullhorn during the Autonomous Zone riots, during the Summer of Love riots, who's telling police to kill themselves, KK kill themselves, and she says the anger you hear is justified. Remember her?
STD!
For people to breathe.
I need you to do me a favor.
That is
Take your guns, put them under your chins, and pull the trigger.
This isn't a response that
So what
protesters
I need you to kill yourselves. That's your only redemption.
What I'm asking you to do is tell me when you were sitting over in the...
Go ahead. Save us the trouble
Where?
of tearing you apart.
What happened
And f***ing kill yourself.
I was sitting in Cal Anderson with some friends, sitting from the protest,
Did I
having
stutter?
some Doritos.
I said kill yourself.
Something happened. Nothing excessive happened with the protesters. Nothing excessive happened.
You
And
kidnapped
they
my
started
brother.
throwing pepper bombs.
Nobody with my family.
And people started sneezing.
Kill yourself.
It wasn't the response that protesters should have gotten. Especially protesters that were not, well, no
It's the only
protesters were
chance
doing
you have
anything.
left to do something good for the world, and that's remove yourself from it.
And as we've talked to the police and others, we've said that the anger that you hear is justified.
The anger that you hear is justified. Man, that's worse than Let's Go Brandon. Remember all that? When the woman's at the NASCAR track, you hear them in the crowd going, let's go, Brandon. Oh, no. This guy who's got the bullhorn who's ruining my interview. The anger you hear is justified. This is the same Teresa Mosqueda who said that police must be dismantled. We must dismantle all the police departments. You remember this fun?
It is the institution of policing itself that must be dismantled. Now is not the time for business as usual, and we cannot allow ourselves to fall into respectability politics. What we need is real change.
Okay. So that's who we're talking about. So Teresa Mosqueda is the one who sent out, on behalf of the King County Council, every single one of them voted to keep King County as a sanctuary county, except for Reagan Dunn, who's going to be joining us later in the show today at around 4:30. So Teresa Mosqueda goes out there, and she says exactly what King County will and won't be doing for illegal immigrants and for ICE.
Very briefly, I will outline what the motion does. The motion lays the groundwork for some initial actions and complements our King County policy and commits us to doing several actions in the future. In the immediate, this motion strengthens our commitment to limiting county assistance with any federal investigation, helps prevent data.
Wait a second, hang on. So right off the bat, those child rapists and child murderers and domestic abusers and all these other guys, you're not going to help ICE get them at all, not even the criminals. Continue.
Sharing for surveillance programs or other federal policies that target residents solely on the basis of immigration or citizenship status.
Okay, solely on the basis of. Does that mean you are going to help when it comes to the criminals? You are going to share data with them? What exactly do you mean by that?
In the immediate, this motion clarifies that ICE detainer warrants not signed by a federal judge are not to be enforced on any King County-owned space.
Okay, so we're not going to enforce warrants. We're not going to enforce them. Just going to chuck that right out. What else you got?
It directs any staff present to report such attempts immediately.
Okay, we're going to turn the staff of King County into snitches. Great. What else you got? Oh, you guys are good at that from COVID.
And request signage be posted at our King County buildings to clearly designate public and non-public spaces to safeguard against warrantless federal access.
So we're going to put a dividing line right here. It's an invisible line. You can't arrest them here. You can't arrest. I just want to make sure I got this right. We can have judges scooting the illegals out the back door of the courtrooms. Is that what we're going to be doing?
It also immediately asks for the creation of a centralized website to share vetted and trusted resources for immigration assistance.
Immigration assistance. So you're going to have a website that tells illegal aliens how to avoid ICE and how to avoid the federal authorities. Is that what it is? You're going to offer them free attorneys too to keep them here? Oh, wait, you already do that.
It requests the courts and prosecutors to mitigate immigration consequences at all stages of the criminal legal process, and it reaffirms our county's commitment to ensure that all eligible voters are encouraged to vote.
Whoa. Why would you throw that in at the end there? An illegal alien cannot vote. A person who's not a citizen cannot vote in King County or Washington State or technically anywhere else in the entire United States. Why would you throw that in there? Could it be because we have motor voter laws here in Washington where when you get a driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote and they know what's going on there? Did you just say the quiet part out loud that you know the illegal aliens are voting? We know they voted before. They've been caught voting before, not in huge numbers, but there have been cases of it. Not enough to sway an election, but there have been cases of it. I think we just realized what Teresa Mosqueda is really upset about. They're losing the people who keep them in power. And that's what they're worried about. Why else protect them? We're talking about a woman who dressed her baby in an Antifa onesie. So aside from all those clips we played you before, we know whose side she's on. Now what happens is you have Congresswoman Maria Salazar. Many of you may not have heard of this Florida Congresswoman, but she has come up with the Dignity Act of 2025. The Dignity Act is basically a path to citizenship for illegal aliens. Now, some of you have been very, very critical of me because I came up with this thing, the Golden Road to Citizenship, which we talked about 4 or 5 times on the show. We brought this up and we said, okay, these are for the people who don't have any criminal background. These are for the people who haven't committed any crimes, who haven't lived off welfare here, who haven't taken any federal assistance, nothing like that. So I actually did a comparison between my plan and their plan. And there is only one area where their plan is stricter than mine. Mine is very, very strict. They require every illegal alien to pay $5,000 if they want to become citizens of the U.S. By the way, you want to make my plan stricter that way? I got no problem with that whatsoever. But here's the basic difference between mine and theirs. They are proposing if you've been in the U.S. for 5 years, you're eligible. Mine said 20. Both say, well, actually, I should take that back. Theirs says no serious crimes. Mine says no criminal convictions, even misdemeanors. They say no disqualification for past usage of public benefits. I disqualify anybody who previously received public assistance. They require English and civics classes, as do I. They have an oath of allegiance, as does our citizenship, as do I. They say it's during the process. I say it's from the beginning. Now, I, in my plan, have a citizenship sponsor requirement, one individual and one employer. They don't require that at all. So me, this is a very, 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 very light way to get them to become citizens. I'm not so big on it. Here's the other thing. Anytime I have even floated this on the show, you know who I get the most pushback from? And rightfully so, by the way? From people who came to this country legally. From people whose families immigrated to this country legally because they don't think it's fair, and rightfully so. What, we're rewarding bad behavior? I agree with you, by the way. I agree with you, which is why I think we're going to find a middle ground in a guest worker program, then maybe a path to citizenship before any of this. But this thing seems just too light for my tastes. And a lot of you thought mine, as strict as it was too light for your tastes. Do you think there should be a path to citizenship for illegals who are in the country, who kept the law, didn't break the law, aside from obviously coming to the country illegally, and who have a job and are working? Yes or no? Here's the other thing, which a lot of you have said in the past. You want them to leave and then come back, which is exactly the Kristi Noem plan, the Trump plan that's going on right now. Do you think illegal immigrants should have a path to citizenship? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from John in Chehalis. John, what's up, man?
Ari, hey, thanks for taking the call. I've seen several comments on X about the initiative for getting voter ID in Washington. And I think Scott Pressler said we only need 308,000 signatures.
Yes.
I've reached out to several people on X and said, how can I get signed up to do initiative distribution, gather signatures? And I've received nothing back from anybody.
I got you. I got you covered, my man. That's why you call this show. I got you covered, my man. That's why you're a KVI listener. Yeah, I got you. So we had Jim Walsh on Friday. It was last Friday. We had Jim Walsh on the show. You can get that interview over at KVI.com. They just won the court battle to move this thing forward. Now they're going to go on to collecting signatures. So now they're in the phase where they're printing these things up for distribution, but they haven't gone to distribution yet. So probably the reason why nobody's getting back to you is they don't, like me, I admit when I don't know. Basically right now, Jim Walsh told me he's going to tell me when they're ready for signature, and then we are going to publicize the crap out of it. So, in fact, we'll probably organize signing events and stuff. So I'm going to tell you something, John, and this goes for everybody in KVI Nation. Always listen to KVI because we'll have all the details for you as soon as we get them. I know that's not the answer you wanted. You want to know, how do I sign this thing today? But I'm the one who's telling you exactly the status of the initiative at this point.
I missed Jim Walsh's interview on Friday. I had grandpapa duty So I'll watch and wait, and I can't wait to start distributing.
Well, I'll tell you something. If you're on X, I put a video version of the interview up on X as well at my account, at the Hofffather. You can check it out over there. You can check it out at kvi.com. It's all right there. But Papa duty, more important than voting or any of that kind of stuff, okay? At least for one day, because I had a Papa too, and that was quality time, and I miss him very, very much. John, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your texts. Plus, we found out that Antifa activist who assaulted journalist Cam Higbee was arraigned today. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. court session just concluded for Jeremy Lawson, the Antifa activist who allegedly assaulted Cam Higbee. So we got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
A judge has set bail at $75,000 for the Antifa rioter who assaulted Cam Higbee, according to our friend Brandy Cruz. A judge found probable cause for felony assault and said that Jeremy Calvin Lawson poses a risk of committing another violent crime. Now, I was very impressed that the judge actually set bail and didn't just release the guy. But we found out some information today that we did not know up until today. Prosecutors say that Lawson contacted Cam Higbee multiple times after the assault, which we know. We know that he was texting Cam Higbee, and Higbee told him to leave him alone. This is what happens when you don't arrest a guy for 5 weeks, but here's the clincher. He tried buying a gun, and there was no contact order in place. So the guy who assaulted Cam Higbee, the guy who now, because he assaulted Cam Higbee, his video, pictures of him are allegedly assaulted, are now all over the interwebs. Tried to buy a gun before there was a no contact order in place and tried contacting Cam Higbee multiple times and has a track record of violence. This is what happens when you don't arrest a guy for 5 weeks. I was wondering, what was the thing that finally got SPD to arrest this guy? And I wonder if it was the fact that he tried to buy a gun. So the judge ordered Jeremy Lawson to have no contact with Cam Higbee. Prosecutors are expected to make a charging decision by tomorrow. And here's something else that Brandy mentioned. The judge would not let the media film Lawson film his face. Why would they do that? His face is all over the interwebs. It's everywhere. So as sane as I want to give the judge a little bit of credit for being sane, they're clearly not. That's a ridiculous thing to make when you're talking about a case that is based on a video that has gone viral multiple times. Why wouldn't you show the face? That's beyond ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. So, as we have seen with our friend, the Emperor Palpatine, we will follow this case with great interest, you might say. Great interest. Thank you to Brandy for being in the courtroom today and getting us all that information. Meanwhile, is Seattle starting to go down the broken windows policy? Wait, what? What's broken windows? Let me explain this real quick in a nutshell. So basically, the broken windows policy, which was used in New York City in the 1990s with great effect, basically assumes if your neighborhood looks like crap, bad things are going to keep happening in it. If you clean up a neighborhood, then what'll happen is people start thinking of it as a nicer neighborhood and crime will move on. So if you have shattered windows, you're going to get more shattered windows. If one's broken and you don't fix it, then another's broken and you don't fix it, soon you're going to have a whole building of broken windows. If you have some graffiti and you don't clean it up, you're going to get more graffiti. Look at I-5. Hey, during this whole I-5 shutdown we're experiencing this weekend, are they going to clean up the sides of it at all? Or is this just about the road and they're going to say, Seattle's problem? So the Seattle City Council is attempting to curb an increase in graffiti by suing graffiti taggers for the cost of cleaning up their damage and imposing higher fines. Do you think this is going to work? I'm kind of skeptical because good luck finding a judge who will actually let these charges go forward when they won't even let the media show Jeremy Lawson's face. You think they're going to go forward with this kind of stuff? Now, the King County prosecutor will probably prosecute a lot of these cases. Or Ann Davidson, it's more likely an Ann Davidson city attorney thing. She'll prosecute these. But are these leftist judges going to just be releasing these guys to keep going back out and out and out? Do you think this is actually going to work? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots of strong reaction over on the text line. This one from the 206 to any of these plans, mine or anybody else's, for this pathway to citizenship. Name another law that if you break it long enough, you are rewarded. By the way, 206, great point right there. Great point. This one from John in Lakewood. Ari, your plan is only good if those who don't opt for it are subject to arrest at any time. But the Kristi Noem plan is working well. This one here from Brad. Absolutely not. Zero path to citizenship for breaking the law. Stand in line, go through the process, wait your turn. It's not fair to others who stood in line, waited, and went through the path of citizenship lawfully. Yeah, a lot of people are saying no amnesty. In fact, right here, it seems like that is the overall consensus on the Warrior Injury Law text line. No amnesty. And in fact, after this plan comes out, it seems like President Trump is saying the exact same thing.
The president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty clear thing, especially when it's working right now, when you're getting rid of all the illegal aliens. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, the Senate has passed the DOJ rescissions, and the left is losing their mind. We'll have some insane breakdown audio for you when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. This was brought to my attention yesterday, but apparently people have been speculating about President Trump's health because he has some marks on his hand that are being covered up with makeup and his ankles are swelling. Now, the mark on the hand looked like how you cover up a massive, massive bug bite. That's what I thought it was. Those crazy mosquitoes on the East Coast, that's what it looked like to me. But press secretary came out today to address what's going on.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do.
Wow, didn't take the fifth on his health. Kind of like everybody from the Biden administration. There's now talk of actually having Joe Biden testify and having Jill Biden testify. How refreshing it is to actually know what's going on with the president's health. Not covering up cancer, not covering up dementia, allegedly, not covering up any of his cognitive decline. Isn't it amazing? What a nice treat. Isn't that fantastic? Meanwhile, last night, big news, the Senate approved the DOGE rescissions with a few little changes here and there, but basically about $9 billion is going to be cut from the federal budget. Great. 0.001%. Woohoo! We're on our way. At this rate, nothing's going to change. It's nice that it's being cut. But of course, what are the big ticket items that are being cut? So the one that the left is losing their minds about is PBS and NPR. Press secretary had some thoughts on these two outlets as well.
The CEO of NPR, she's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Congressman Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money.
I completely agree. By the way, Sesame Street, Sesame Workshop, I did a little analysis on their numbers today. Because what does the left always do? They're killing Big Bird. They're canceling Big Bird. Okay. Sesame Workshop brings in $130 to $150 million per year, including $50 to $75 million in merchandising and licensing. HBO Max streaming deal, which just, I think, expired this year, brought in $20 million a year. They receive $25 to $30 million a year in philanthropic grants. PBS funding only gets about $8 million of it a year from the federal government. It sounds like they'll be fine without the $8 million from the federal government, just with Sesame Street alone. You know, if we want to put on a radio show, we have to get sponsors. We have to get our friends over at All Red Heating and Cooling. We have to get our friends over at Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram in Renton. We have to get sponsors so we can put on this radio show. And you know what? PBS has to get them too. NPR has to get them also. So why do they get the taxpayer money? If you want to listen to liberal garbage, that is your right as an American. But why should I have to pay for it? MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, Daily Wire, Daily Caller, KVI, none of them should be subsidized. So why does NPR get the subsidy? Why does PBS get the subsidy? There are not just 3 channels anymore. You can get your news from anywhere. This is something our tax money does not need to be spent on. When we come back, comedian Shane Gillis roasts everybody at the ESPN ESPY Awards. We'll tell you all about it and have that awesome audio for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. ESPN went woke a long time ago. And somebody decided, hey, we can make a lot of money with sponsors if we get a whole bunch of athletes in a room together to talk about how great they are with a bunch of famous people and then give them awards because we like them for ridiculous reasons, not because they won anything. You know, you get an award when you win the World Series. It's the World Series trophy. You win an award called the Stanley Cup when you win the Stanley Cup, the Lombardi Trophy. I think these guys get enough awards. But a woke organization like ESPN getting destroyed by Shane Gillis, if you don't know who Shane Gillis is, you do. Shane Gillis is the guy who does the best Trump impression you've ever heard. You've seen him before. You've seen the viral videos of him. He was the one on the Kill Tony show, the one that went viral for that. He's been on Saturday Night Live. He was fired from Saturday Night Live before he got to be on Saturday Night Live. Then they brought him back to host Saturday Night Live. He's great. He's hysterical. So he's the host of the ESPYs. And here's one of the jokes he opened with, which was my favorite one of the evening.
Four-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Hicks is here. Give it up for Brittany, everybody. I'm joking around. That's my friend's wife. I knew none of you knew WNBA players. That's crazy. You clap for that.
That is the best own of the night. Everybody's clapping. And okay, can you name any WNBA player aside from Caitlin Clark and Brittany Griner? I can't even remember the name of that gal we liked for 10 seconds. Cunningham, I think it was, who helped out Caitlin Clark. I can't even remember that. But yeah, he called out all of them for applauding just because he said the word WNBA. Yeah, he had more jokes at the WNBA's expense.
When Caitlin Clark retires from the WNBA, she's going to work at a Waffle House so she can continue doing what she loves most, fist-fighting black women.
Yeah, that one he got some booze on, but I mean, you're talking about a woman who gets beat up on a regular basis. You're talking about the WNBA almost turning into hockey at this point. But then he went more political. Now, I assume, I don't know his politics, but I assume Shane Gillis leans a little bit more on the right, but nothing was off limits for him.
Joe Rogan actually wanted me to be here to host this award show so that I could capture Adam Silver because Joe thinks he's an alien. And Donald Trump wanted me to be here to capture Juan Soto for the same reason. It's an alien joke. Who booed up there, dude? Shut up.
I love his ongoing monologue during all this. Then, of course, came the Epstein jokes. I haven't heard one this vicious since Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes.
Donald Trump wants to stage a UFC fight on the White House lawn. The last time he staged a fight in D.C., Mike Pence almost died. All right. You don't have to do that. It was fine. I didn't write it. Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore that. The New York...
Vicious. Absolutely vicious. But I enjoyed it. The problem was I saw the clips before I saw the entire opening monologue. So then when I go back to watch the opening monologue, I'm like, oh, man, I saw all the best parts already. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's up, man? Leonard. Hello,
hey,
Leonard.
How you doing?
Yeah, what's up, man?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know, I was going to tell you about this, this Antifa member that you talked about earlier in your last segment.
Yeah.
When he was charged with the assault.
Yeah.
If he gets this no contact order, you want to make a bet he's going to try to encrypt his cell phone so that nobody can trace him or track him?
Well, I think that they probably have already subpoenaed all the stuff in his cell phone because he used it to allegedly talk to Cam Higbee, and Cam Higbee put up the posts, the screenshots, over on social media. So I assume they've already subpoenaed that if they're worth their salt in the legal world. Leonard, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Pat says over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, Ari, no PBS? Where else will we watch the Moody Blues? That's very good. Very, very good. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash in our latest giveaway. Plus, Seattle is officially the Seattle metro area, the highest inflation in the U.S. And I'll tell you what's causing it. I'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle officials say that crime going down. Is it? And also an illegal is charged with faking a kidnapping to make it look like ICE did it. But before we get to any of that, you work hard. You play hard. You need a getaway. Perhaps you need some financial relief. Well, my friends, we've got you covered with KVI's Take the Trip or Keep the Cash, sponsored by our friends over at Budget Tank Removals. This week, you can get away to Maui with surf, sun, and sand, or have the chance at $3,000 in cold, hard cash. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not call us. Do not give us your name. Do not give us your address. Do not give us your phone number. Do not say, Ari Hoffman, you are the best looking radio host in the business, and you're so smart too. Just the word itself. And we'll get you in the daily drawing to get a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, and you could win the trip or keep the cash with KVI. Today's word is jet. As in, Maverick flies a jet. And I think one just buzzed our radio station. That's right. The word is jet. J-E-T. Text the word jet, J-E-T, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. What do you call one bad football player? A jet! Sorry for my New York friends out there. Yes, that's right. You have until 5 p.m. to enter. Your next chance at winning comes tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Phil and Zach. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout or delivery order, and so much more. Now, my friends, switching gears over here to what's going on in Washington. I saw this report today from our friends over at the Center Square that a new report from personal finance website Wallet Hub finds that the Seattle metro area is currently experiencing the most significant inflationary pressure of all of major metro areas in the U.S. Wallet Hub compared 23 major metropolitan statistical areas across two key metrics related to the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation. We compared the Consumer Price Index for the last month, for which the Bureau of Labor Statistics data is available, to 2 months prior and 1 year prior, to get a snapshot of how inflation has changed in the short and long term. Area prices in the Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma area were up 1.4% over the past 2 months alone, and up 2.7% from a year ago. According to Wallet Hub, the index for all items except food and energy increased 2.4% over the year. But the food index for the Seattle metro area rose 4.8%, and the energy index advanced by 5%. Why do you think that is? Well, should we do some quick analysis for you? Number one, the Climate Commitment Act, passed by the Democrats, raises the costs of fuel, specifically taxes those who create energy, and they're not just going to eat that tax, so they roll it over onto you. Plus, let's not forget, this month they raise the gas tax even more, so these numbers are inaccurate. If you raise the cost of fuel, it raises the cost of everything that is transported by fuel-consuming vehicles, by internal combustion engines. Do you know anything that isn't transported by a gas-powered vehicle? So that means your food costs are going to go up. Your goods are going to go up in price. That means you're going to go up in price because you need to get places. So now, thanks to the Climate Commitment Act, which was passed by the Democrats, we now have the highest inflationary pressure of any metropolitan area in the United States. Worse than California. Worse than Hawaii. Thanks so much, Democrats. If you have a friend who's a Democrat, the next time you see them, you go, hey, you owe me gas money. And when they go, what are you talking about? Explain this to them. I'm reminded of Reuben Carlisle, the former senator here. Was he senator, representative? I don't care. He screwed us either way. Here in Washington State, who was a Democrat, who was the key sponsor behind the Climate Commitment Act. Joe Wynn, who went around talking about the Climate Commitment Act. Remember when we had Joe Wynn and Todd Myers here in the studio? And Todd Myers shut down Joe Wynn, shut down his math along the way, saying, you're wrong, dude. This thing is going to spike costs. And guess what it did? In fact, they knew it was going to spike costs so much that Bob Ferguson, back when he was Attorney General, wouldn't let utility companies put the Climate Commitment Act on people's bills so they knew why bills were going up. He advised them not to put it on there. And when I did a public disclosure request for all the internal communication about that, it came back redacted, 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 redacted. Yeah, public accountability. Give me a break. Being so open and transparent. Give me a break. So these numbers are going to keep going up. You've seen gas prices, egg prices come down around the entire U.S. And you always go, how come not us? And by the way, a bunch of your Democrat friends are going to say to you things like, well, you know, Trump promised lower costs and they're not going down here. You say, that's because of who you voted for. Why are gas prices, why are grocery prices going down in 35 states and not this one? Because of the Climate Commitment Act and because the Democrats keep raising taxes on everything. Mike was telling me, somebody was asking him about what are taxes going up on, and Mike had to say literally everything, even things we don't use. I'm not one of those guys who chews on Zim or uses Zim at all, but they think smoking's bad. So now they're going to tax the products that stop you from smoking. Oh, right, because what happens? Less people are smoking, which means they're not getting the taxes that they leveled on the smoke, on the cigarettes. So as a result, now they have to tax the things that stop you from smoking. It's like our friend who we saw on social media posted that video where they got the car tabs renewal for over $1,000 for a Tesla. Oh, you're going to drive that electric car? We're going to tax you even more. Doesn't matter that we pushed you into getting that electric car. This is what they're going to do. So now, thank you to Democrats, we now have the highest inflationary pressure in the entire United States. Wallet Hub writer and analyst Chip Lupo said the numbers are pretty startling for Seattle, particularly in the short term. They went up 1.4% in just the last 2 months. That was the highest jump of any of the 23 metro areas that they checked out. Food and restaurant prices are way up for the Seattle metro area. They said for Seattle, food went up 1.5% in June. That's an index of what we call food at home, which are grocery store purchases. The food away from home index includes things like restaurants, cafeterias, and vending purchases. And that has been up 1.6% in the past 2 months. Seattle area's food index rose 4.8% year over year for both food at home and eating out. You wonder why people aren't going out for meals as often anymore? Thanks to this. He said, quote, this is all pretty staggering. Washington has a higher grocery prices than most of the U.S. Washingtonians pay the fourth highest grocery bill in America. According to the report, only California, Nevada, and Mississippi are higher cost prices for groceries themselves. A family of four that spends $1,000 per month on food, which is a lower end estimate, a 4.8% increase, amounts to spending another $576 on food for the year. By the way, the Center Square points out it's unclear how big of a factor Seattle's minimum wage law has on all of this and all the hikes on DoorDash and the other delivery services. Wait, I forgot. Who raised the minimum wage? Who did that? Right. And who raised all the prices on DoorDash? The Seattle City Council. Completely Democrats. The other big hit for Seattle residents is the energy index. It increased 4% over the last 2 months. Gasoline prices are a big component for that, up 2.4%. By the way, this doesn't include the most recent gas tax that the Democrats in the Washington state legislature hit us with this month. He said over the year, the energy index, including gasoline prices, went up less than 1%. So there was something going on for it to jump almost 2.5% in the last 2 months. Oh, you mean the fact that the Climate Commitment Act is kicking in more and more and more, and that all these insane taxes are tied to inflation and they're only going to go up and up and up? You mean after Democrats realized that these initiatives were going to get stopped by the Washington State Supreme Court, and they were going to lie about it so much on the ballots that people were going to vote not to get rid of the thing, they could go full bore and restrict them more and more and more and more and more? This is 1,000% caused by the Democrats. So you've got the 6 cents per gallon increase on July 1st, which went into effect. So now we're talking about in taxes alone, you're looking at about $1.10 in taxes on every gallon of gas that you pay. Those are just the local taxes, not the federal taxes. Those are just the taxes for the state, never mind the city. So those of you in Seattle, you're screwed. The state tax on diesel also went up. Meanwhile, temperatures are going up, so it's going to be even more. Did you see a flex event was announced by Puget Sound Energy? You see that? Save some energy. And what are we spending the money on? It's getting more and more expensive to live here. As we discussed yesterday, you need to be making like $300,000 if you want to be living here comfortably. But yet they're spending $150 million for a Medicaid program for illegal aliens. And they're cutting other programs. Here's Fox 13 with the latest story of what the Democrats cut.
The fourth largest school district in our state is dealing with financial problems, and a new one just popped up. Tacoma Public Schools is trying to afford transporting students experiencing homelessness to and from schools. It comes after the state pulled $750,000 expected to help the district with operating costs. To learn more about this issue, Tacoma News Tribune reporter Isha Trivedi is joining us now. Good evening, Isha.
Hey, how are you?
Well, I'm great. Thank you for joining us. And to start off, can you explain the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act and how it helps students?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the McKinney-Vento Act is a federal law that's designed to essentially remove a lot of the barriers to education that youth who are experiencing homelessness encounter. And so part of that is requiring districts to transport students who are homeless to the school that they attend in their district.
How many students does this impact, and how many McKinney-Vento students are going to Tacoma schools right now?
Yeah, Tacoma Public Schools has one of the highest numbers of McKinney-Vento students in the state, and they're at 2,500. And of that number, about 800 actually need to be transported by the district specially.
And from reading your report, I found that a lot of community organizations identified that this will have a negative impact on the quality of life of these students who are already experiencing such hardship. What did you gather from that reporting?
Yeah, I mean, the district is still required to transport those students. They just can't do so with the help of the state legislature. So the district is going to have to come up with the funds somewhere else to sort of cover that cost and help ensure that those students get to school.
In your reporting, how did the state make this decision from what you uncovered?
Well, it was, from what I heard from the Office of the State Superintendent, they said it was a tough legislative session and they had difficult decisions to make, and so this is one of the things that was on the chopping block for them.
Do you think this was a surprise to the school district? Would you say they're scrambling at this point?
Definitely. I mean, the district approved their budget last week, so they were able to sort of cover the costs and find the money somewhere. But the district has been contending with a $30 million deficit as they were going in to, develop their budget for the next academic year. So I know from what I heard from folks at the district, it definitely didn't make things easier.
What's the sentiment here of emotion? How are people feeling about this? It seems like it is a hardship. Would you agree with that?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, folks in the district have been speaking out about how difficult this budget cycle has been and all the cuts the district has had to make to contend with costs that have come up like this one.
Isha, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to your future reporting.
So let me make sure I got this right. They're paying for $150 million just for Medicaid for illegal aliens with your taxpayer money. But they're not paying for poor kids to go to school. Isn't it the left that's always saying, oh, the children, oh, the poor kids need the lunch at school? Just making sure I got that. They're the ones who are paying for laser hair removal surgery for trans inmates, but not for poor kids to go to school. And aren't they the ones saying how great the public schools are and how we need the public schools and how they're for the poor kids. Those rich kids can go to any school they want. They're paying for Rain City Jacks, the men's self-service art galleries. Paying for that. But they're not paying for the kids to go to schools. They're paying for all the stuff for the illegal aliens. Paying for all the stuff for them. But they're not paying for drug centers to treat newborns who are born drug addicted. That's the Democrats' actual priorities. Everything is just a pawn to them. Everything is just a prop to them. They don't actually care about kids. They don't actually even care about illegal aliens. What do they care about? Their votes. They don't care about the kids. They care about using them as pawns to get more tax money out of you so they can say, oh, we need to help the children, and then they're not actually helping the children. They could not be more transparent over this nonsense. We don't even know how many cuts there are. We're going to find out more because we're going to see more stories like this. If only the media had done their jobs during the legislative session. It said, if you guys do this, you're going to end up cutting all these programs, and they didn't cover it. They didn't cover it at all. I blame the media as much as I blame the Democrats because they never held Bob Ferguson accountable. They never held the Democrats accountable. And now you want me to go, oh, boo-hoo, the children. Fox 13, where were you during the entire legislative session? And you're supposed to be a Fox outlet. Where were you guys the entire legislative session? From now on, anytime one of these stories pops up about something that was cut because of Bob Ferguson in the legislature, how come you didn't mention Bob Ferguson in that story? He signed the budget. He could have line item vetoed this stuff out of there. Didn't do it. This is the insanity of our media and the insanity of the Democrat Party, making your life infinitely more expensive to spend on boondoggle projects and things that keep them right with certain voting bases while literally cutting the services that people depend on. That's your Washington State Democrat Party. And more than that, when we come back, we're going to tell you how the King County Council itself, these lunatics, how they are doubling down on their failed sanctuary county sanctuary status policies. Reagan Dunn joins us when we come next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, it should be no surprise whatsoever, despite the fact that crime is going up, despite the fact that drug overdoses are going up. King County decided to recertify themselves, or reaffirm themselves, to use their verbiage, as a sanctuary county, which means they don't want all the illegal alien criminals we have been listing on this show and the awful things they've been doing. They don't want them kicked out of our county. They don't want to cooperate with ICE in any way, shape, or form. One member of the King County Council opposed this, and that's our friend Reagan Dunn, who joins us now on the Warrior Injury Law studio line, actually live from the King County Fair. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks, Ari, for having me on.
Such a pleasure. Actually, KVI is going to be out at the King County Fair coming up this weekend as well. How is it? You having a good time out there?
It's terrific, man. It's the 162nd year of the King County Fair. It started the same summer as the Battle of Gettysburg during the Civil War. It's the longest-running fair west of the Mississippi. The scones with jam and the cotton candy, and it's great weather. Come on out to Enumclaw. It's a lot of fun for kids and family.
Awesome. And reminder that if you go out on Saturday, I believe we're going to be out there. Mike says Mike is going to be out there. So you can go see Mike at the KVI booth this weekend, and Zach will be there as well. All right. Now let's switch over to the illegal immigration stuff. So you were the lone no vote on this, and all the rest of them went along with it despite all the things I mentioned about drug overdoses, fentanyl, crime, and they're probably not very happy with you right now.
No, it's a lonely place up at the King County Council these days. It's very frustrating, and to go ahead and watch what the voters decided in November with the election, clearly rejecting this far left policy of sanctuary counties, sanctuary cities. They went ahead and reaffirmed it, and with a lot of very inflammatory language at the federal government, it just was a no-brainer to vote no. Sanctuary laws don't work. They're not going to work. They're not making things better. The county has no plan to house these folks. They don't have the resources, a huge budget shortfall. And to say, hey, we're a sanctuary county, come from all over the world, come to King County, you'll be taken care of, is sending the wrong message, because they won't. They'll be out on the streets with our homeless population or worse, and that is why I oppose the legislation.
So let's just list some of these winners for King County specifically. I'm over on the ICE Seattle account. Lukas Krzysztof Samola. That doesn't sound Hispanic. 44 is a citizen of Poland who was arrested by ICE in our area yesterday, specifically in Seattle, after release from federal prison. He has multiple arrests with convictions for burglary, drug possession, DUI, and federal conviction for illegal reentry. So these are the kind of people they want to keep around here. And what's crazy to me is we see crime going down. Literally, the lamestream media is writing reports about, we don't know why the crime is going down at the border. We don't know why drug overdoses are going down. We don't know why drug use is going down. It's all tied to the border. And apparently these guys just want to double down on the stupidity that got us in a bad place in the first place.
Well, that's exactly right. And, those far left policies don't work. What we know, you want to reduce drugs and crime, secure our borders. That's just a critical part of the basic responsibility. And then, look, the federal government has exclusive constitutional purview over immigration policy. It is not the role of cities, towns, and counties to decide what our immigration policy should be, nor should it. And so not only is this action that the county took unconstitutional, it's illegal, and it's also bad policy. So I'm proud to be able to vote no on it. And we need to take care of our domestic population first. We need to secure our borders. We need to take care of our domestic population. We're looking at a $150 million shortfall. The state has increased taxes this year alone by $12 billion. King County is putting another 5 tax increases on the ballot or voting them through this year alone. All this stuff costs money, and it might sound good and feel good to vote for it, but at the end of the day, you are just bilking the taxpayer for dollars that they can't use for basic services to keep our roads and our police officers in place. It's just bad policy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I'm looking at another one of these winners here. A citizen of Iran, Hamed Azimi. 43 was arrested by ICE Seattle. He has multiple convictions across multiple states, including stolen property, theft, domestic violence. And he was ordered removed from the U.S. in 2007. So they'd rather take care of people like that rather than people like us who actually pay the taxes here. Now, as I understand it, you have organizations locally who are funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and NPR, which means they're funded by our tax dollars. And they don't seem very happy with you either. Do you think it's very entertaining what happened to them last night / today?
Yeah, it is. It is entertaining. I just, again and again, if you look at what's happening, when somebody goes through legal channels to get citizenship, they go through a process with the State Department, and their background is checked, okay? And when you encourage illegal immigration and create sanctuary jurisdictions across the country, you are giving people an out to go around that process. When you go around that process, sometimes, as you're seeing with these arrests, you're getting people who are dangerous, who have a repeated pattern of predatory behavior against others, who are caught in organized crime, possible terrorism connections, which we know have happened, having done some work in terrorism prevention at the Justice Department before this job. So, yeah, it is absolutely funny. They're eating crow. The policies are eating crow, and we can't sustain these policies moving forward.
In the last few minutes we have with King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn, the Diversity Act was put forward today. The Dignity Act, not the Diversity Act. The Dignity Act was put forward today, which is a road to citizenship. Now, for me, it's a little light. I would have preferred a stricter version of this, like one we spoke about a while ago called the Golden Road to Citizenship. But is anybody at the King County Council discussing anything like this, or is it just free giveaways for everybody? I don't think, it seems to me, they're not having a nuanced discussion of how do we fix this kind of stuff.
No, and they don't have a plan. Okay, so we had all of these refugees that were down in Kent, and they kept showing up at the King County Council over the course of the last year. 100 people showing up, demanding resources, demanding money. The King County Council actually canceled a meeting because they didn't have any answers for all the people in the chambers. They ended up giving $1 million to the group that was supporting them at the last second just to make them go away. But literally what you have is them passing motions like this, come to our county, and then when they show up and say, hey, where's our housing? Where's our social services to help us? We cancel the meeting where they're supposed to be at. Like, it is just really wrong. And what it is, it's political charade. It's what we call bullhorn excess. It's just politicians grandstanding with no real answers. And when you get something like that comes before the council, I vote no. It's just a matter of course.
King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn, thank you so much for standing alone, but standing for all of us in the King County Council. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Ari, and come out to the King County Fair this weekend in Enumclaw.
Reminder, go out to the King County Fair this weekend in Enumclaw, and on Saturday you can see Mike and Zach at the KVI booth. King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn, really appreciate your time. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Do you remember that woman who Democrats and the media claimed was kidnapped from a parking lot by ICE, shoved into an unmarked car, held in a building, starved, so that she would self-deport? Turns out she staged the entire thing. Now she's facing criminal charges for conspiracy and making false statements to federal officers. Fox News has a story for us.
Migrant in California is charged with staging a fake kidnapping and blaming federal agents or people working with them. Correspondent Matt Finn reporting live on this from LA. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Martha. This woman is here illegally, a Mexican national. She goes by Julie Calderon, and the feds say she's being charged with lying to police and conspiracy for this elaborate hoax that they believe was meant to incite even more tension and also possibly make some money. Federal investigators say a key piece of evidence, photos. Calderon and her co-conspirators had pictures ready, staged to make it look like she was in custody with a dirty face, even removing her shoelaces. But the feds say there's at least one glaring error, because she would have been asked to take off the necklace in an official federal photo. The U.S. government says surveillance video helped them crack the case. The feds say this woman lied about being kidnapped by federal agents at a Jack in the Box here in L.A., taken to San Ysidro to the south, and asked to self-deport, but she refused, so she was held in a warehouse. But the feds say they caught her roaming free in the Bakersfield area, hundreds of miles north. This scheme went to extremes: a filed police report, a GoFundMe, even a press conference announcing her disappearance.
So in this very parking lot a week ago, ununiformed men in unmarked cars kidnapped Julie. And with her courage and her strength, even though we don't know where Julie is and we don't know when we will find her, Julie has managed to make 2 phone calls to the family since she's been kidnapped.
The Department of Justice says Calderon was indeed using her iPhone during her alleged disappearance, which helped them locate her. She faces a maximum of 10 years if convicted. The U.S. attorney here in L.A. says, quote, dangerous rhetoric that ICE agents are kidnapping illegal migrants is being recklessly peddled by politicians and echoed in the media to inflame the public and discredit our courageous federal agents. We do have calls into that attorney who you saw in that video who is representing this woman. And also there are also co-conspirators listed throughout this federal complaint, so we expect there may be more people charged here.
Throw the book at every single one of them and make an example out of every single one of them. No plea bargains, no deals. You lie about this stuff, you are going to jail. There are plenty of people out there who think this story is still real, who don't know about the follow-up, who don't know any of this happened. You think they're not going to try this in Seattle and try this in Oregon and try this in New York and try this in Chicago and try this in Philadelphia and try this in Washington, D.C.? Of course they are. You need to throw the book at every single one of them. It's nice that the feds are taking this stuff seriously, by the way. It really, really is. In fact, got another story from Fox News about a California man who saw an ICE operation unfolding at a Home Depot, and he decided to start slashing their tires.
This video, this was a guy who said he was a U.S. citizen fleeing from federal agents after they say he slashed the tires on one of their vehicles. You'll see him running away. He then gets taken to the ground, and he tangles with agents while he's on the ground. It appeared he kind of lunged at one of them, and you'll see the aftermath of that. Take a look at this picture right here. Those federal agents ended up macing that man in his face, took him into custody and took him away. His wife was yelling at agents the whole time, saying he's a U.S. citizen. The agent said, too bad, he slashed one of our tires. And then take a look at these photos here. We do have photos of the vehicle that had the tire slashed. There was one puncture mark. It quickly deflated, and the agents had to drive out of the area on their rims. We caught up.
Let me ask you a question here. If you were told by people in power that somebody's a Nazi, what would you do to stop them? No, seriously, what would you do to stop them? If you were told that the person in power is Adolf Hitler and you believed it, what would you do to stop him? I'm sure a lot of people take matters into their own hands. These Democrats are teeing up more and more violence, because the more they say that Donald Trump is using Gestapo tactics and Nazi tactics, and he's a Nazi and he's Hitler and he's a fascist and he's a dictator, the worse this is going to get. This person I was talking to last weekend, who I've known for years, known since this person was a kid, and had one of the most heartbreaking conversations. This is a person who we bust each other's chops about politics all the time. And then this person started telling me how Donald Trump is a fascist. Okay, I can deal with that. But then it started veering into another area. It started veering into anti-Israel territory, and this person's Jewish, been totally brainwashed by the other side. This person told me, in the same conversation, that October 7th was justified and that the terror tunnels are used to mine natural resources from the ground. So I go, wait, hang on. If you think October 7th was justified, then you think the terror tunnels were part of that. Now you're telling me that they're to mine natural resources? This is the nonsense that people believe. This is the nonsense that they get brainwashed with. So if you have all these Democrats saying get physical, it's Nazis, it's Gestapo, they believe this insanity and they start trying to take the law into their own hands, which is exactly what we're seeing going on. Look, if you guys have a problem with what's happening with the ICE raids, guess what? It's all legal. So you know what the Democrats should be doing? Work on getting more Democrats elected to change the law. You can always change the law if you get enough people to change the law, but I don't hear them talking about it. Here's the other thing. The Democrats have not given us any ideas for what they want to do differently because their ideas are so unpopular. Instead, what do? They come up with people like Mamdani, who are going to promise you all the free stuff in the universe. And the reason this guy's popular, he's the only one who's saying, here's my idea, here's my idea. They're terrible ideas. They're horrifying ideas. They have failed throughout history. But the reason he's being successful is he's giving Democrats something to shoot for. They're socialist ideas, they're communist ideas, but they're ideas. The rest of the Democrats are Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. And the reason all the Democrats are hopping on the Mamdani train is because they're finally hearing ideas, and other people are hearing ideas and going, something. So if Republicans want to fend off people like Mamdani, we got to hear more ideas, more things you want to do, more things you want to accomplish, or else you're going to get Mamdani, and not just him. You're going to get a bunch of socialists just like him, and you're going to get it good and hard. People already voted for you for the last election. Now you got to worry about the next one. When we come back, my friends, the Seattle Police Department says things are much, much safer around here. But our friend Seattle Police Officer Guild President Mike Solon says, I'm not so sure about that. We'll analyze the numbers when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I don't know about you guys. When I'm out for a night with my wife in downtown Seattle, I never go anywhere without my gun. Because unfortunately, that's how things are around here. And even though a lot of politicians are busy saying that crime is getting so much better here, crime's going down around here, I don't see any evidence of it. I see homelessness is just as bad as ever. And unlike other years when an election's coming up or when summer tourist season is here, I don't see them clearing out the homeless encampments from the main tourist areas or the main downtown core areas, probably because some people are worried about angering the left heading into election season. Well, there was a question put out yesterday on Twitter by the Seattle Police Officers Guild. It says the media are desperately trying to convince everyone that crime is plunging in Seattle. Our research tells a different story. Give us your opinion below. As of the time this poll was taken, it says, would you feel safe walking alone in Seattle after dark? 66.6% say no, 33.4% say yes. And that may be more in line with the actual statistics. Joining us now to discuss on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, friend of the show, Seattle Police Officer Guild President Mike Solon. Thanks for being with us today, buddy.
Ari, happy to be back, man.
We love having you. So tell us what's behind this. Are you guys doing your own internal study on this?
Well, we always have studies going on when we approach the members who are doing the work on the street or in the investigative sections to say, hey, what type of feedback are you getting from crime victims or community that are reporting things that need police attention? And time again, the feedback we get, which we think is spot on, is that the community feels as if there's not enough cops. Obviously, we're in a staffing crisis. It takes too long for cops to adhere to their call for service, meaning the community calling for police services. And the only way that's solved is if you get more cops. And then secondly, it's what is the prosecutor's office doing about this? The filing standards are way too stringent because the activists for years now, the complete overhaul of the criminal justice system has impacted quality of life in this city. And suspects, people that commit crimes, feel emboldened because they know they more likely will not get charged or they'll likely get a slap on the wrist and immediately released. And that's the sentiment that our people get in terms of the feedback to us. So we feel as if that, the research done by that, warrants us to counter the false narrative by legacy media, woke media, who are pushing another false narrative on saying crime is plunging, which is completely false based upon the feedback I just gave you. And so how do we correct that? So we thought that this poll to the community at large would be warranted to counter the political heads and the media's cover for them, their spin on crime plunging, using their words, which is so false, it's laughable. So as it is right now, the poll is still going. I urge your listeners, Ari, to go to X or Twitter, whatever way you want to describe it. Go to @SPOG1952, it's our handle, and please participate in the poll. What we're noticing is that the far lefts, the lunatics that typically throw shade at us all the time, are aligning with the legacy media to try to tank the poll, to try to have support of their false narrative to say crime is plunging, and that's not accurate at all. So we're about being accurate, giving people the truth, much like you are, Ari, and we're urging people to participate in the poll and give your true testimony, your true take on the crime situation in this city, which, to your point, is devolving even as we speak.
So just to play devil's advocate for a second here, because we are the most pro-devil show on the airwaves, why don't you ask the mayor, who seems to have a lot of money to spend on polls that hit my text line all the time, that hit my phone all the time. I get poll after poll after poll about his campaign. I assume it's his campaign at least. Why don't we ask them for a few bucks and do an actual scientific poll? Because what I found during the Biden administration, not to make this a national political thing, but the Biden administration would say, oh, the economy is doing so well, but the public perception did not agree. So now you've got the Trump administration saying, oh, the economy is doing so well. And in other states, you're seeing gas prices go down and you're seeing cost of eggs go down. But here they're not for many local reasons, things done by the Washington state legislature. So there's the perception about how things are going. And there's the actual what people see with their own two eyes. And you take somebody like me whose wife's car got broken into the last time we were out for drinks in South Seattle, and then we didn't even bother reporting it. The first thing we did was call the insurance company. They don't even ask for a police report. And I think the majority of people aren't even bothering reporting crimes anymore because it's going to be the same homeless encampment. It's going to be the same issues, and they think it's not going to get solved.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on. I mean, the last time I was on your show, I believe I talked about this concept is that people are so overwhelmed with the crime situation that, to your point, and you just did the same thing on a human level, What's the point of calling 911 for what just happened to you, as bad as that is? Because it's just going to go to the black hole. And more and more people are not calling 911, which is causing, obviously, the statistics of crime being committed in the city to go down because it's being underreported. That's just a human reality. The bottom line is that you get the media covering for our political heads to push this false narrative. I even heard the mayor talk about how crime is plunging. It's all for the election that's coming up. And then more importantly, we feel as if the public is the more accurate base to give us the truth. What is your reality on the ground? And that's essentially what this poll, and you can find it at SPOG 1952 on X, is really illustrating.
So I'll say,
we no longer can rely on legacy media to give us the truth. That was quite evident, and I think that's been really highlighted in the past 10 years. And, we no longer, as much as we can, engage with local media because it's so laughable in terms of their coverage because they don't give us the truth. And I cover that on my podcast, The Hold the Line with Mike Solon, relative to people are underreporting crime, and legacy media will time and time again not give us the accurate information that is desperately needed, and especially in a public safety crisis that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, which is why everybody should head on over to the Seattle Police Officers Guild Twitter account, take the poll. But also, we're going to do a poll right now on the show because I'm curious what KVI Nation thinks. And I know a lot of you live outside of Seattle, so we're going to do this a little differently. We're going to open up the text line right now. The number is 206-421-5757. And what I want you to do is I want you to text in. If you live in Seattle, I just want you to write in if you feel safe or not in Seattle, if you feel like things have gotten better or not in Seattle. If you don't live in Seattle, what I want you to say is, would you consider coming to Seattle, or do you avoid Seattle for nights out, for activities, et cetera, et cetera? 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Seattle Police Officers Guild President Mike Solon, thanks so much for joining us today, buddy. Really do appreciate it.
Good man, Ari. Appreciate you.
We love having you. Got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour, free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Washington State Fair. But before we get to any of that, my friends, looks like a lot of you have a lot to say about our interview in the last segment with Seattle Police Officers Guild President Mike Solon when I asked you, if you don't live in Seattle, would you want to go to Seattle? Do you even consider going to Seattle? Or when I asked you, if you do live in Seattle, do you feel safe? Gunny says over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, we avoid Seattle for a decade now. This one here from the 360. The only time I go to Seattle is when I take this freeway straight past it. This one here from Christine. I live in Auburn. Absolutely avoid going to Seattle for anything other than necessary appointments that cannot be accommodated elsewhere. Don't take visiting relatives into Seattle anymore either. By the way, interesting point. The last time my family was in town, they looked around and they said, what the hell happened here? This place used to be so nice. What's with all the graffiti? It looks like New York. It looks worse than New York around here. Eben in Bonnie Lake says, Ari, I work in Seattle during the daylight hours. Even when I'm wearing my tool bags and have a framing hammer with me, I don't feel safe. Yeah, that's kind of about par for the course. A lot of people just writing, avoid Seattle, avoid Seattle, avoid in Seattle. This one here from the 360. I've lived in Kitsap County for 35 years. I avoid Seattle like the plague. This one from the 425, they say we avoid Seattle due to the crime and safety issues. We live in Burien. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Daniel in Puyallup. Daniel, what's up?
Hello, Ari. Hey, long-time listener here. I appreciate your show. Thank you very much. And I'd just like to put in, I used to go up to Seattle all the time. Beautiful city. My favorite spot to go, rain or shine. And, I haven't been up there probably 2.5, 3 years, and I just don't do it anymore. I don't feel safe about it. I don't hear good about the things that I hear, and I avoid it. I don't do it no more.
Yeah, Daniel, you're not alone. I mean, I remember, I was dating my wife almost 25 years ago, and I remember one time we came to Seattle to meet her family, et cetera, and she took me on a walk around the Seward Park Loop. And I remember sitting at the bench at the tip of Seward Park and going, yeah, I could live here. This place is magnificent. Look how beautiful this place is. You don't get this kind of stuff in New York. And there's boats, and I love boats. And
absolutely,
yeah, what does it look like now, man? I mean, I live here now. I still live near Seward Park, and it just ain't the same, because anytime I look out at Seattle, and I'm looking at Seattle from that same bench, and I look out, and I said, yeah, but zoom in, because we know what's out there, right?
Absolutely. I used to, I'd work north of there, and I'd be coming through if the traffic got really thick and you're just doing nothing but sitting there. I'd get off numerous times, just go down and have a good time, maybe have a beer, and, get on the freeway after it cleaned out and head out. Now I'm retired. I don't even go near there. That's too bad. Real sad.
Yeah, it seems like you're not alone there, Daniel. Daniel, appreciate the kind words about the show. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the input. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one from somebody who still has a 206 phone number but says, I live out of Seattle, and I totally avoid Seattle. I do not feel safe, especially in the evening. Never will use the bus or transit systems either. This one from the 425, live in Maple Leaf, crime and car prowling constantly. Ever since they built the tiny house village on Lake City Way, stopped reporting after the 8th break-in on the street in a year. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. 253, I avoid Seattle like the plague. Ted says, I haven't spent a night in town in Seattle for many years. No baseball, no nothing, nor do I intend to. That's probably why Ted lives out in Gig Harbor. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take call from Jeff in the Hood Canal. Jeff, I love the Hood Canal. I assume you like it better out there than Seattle, right?
Well, I'll probably be boring conversation, but probably redundant as well. Grew up, over there in Seattle, Mercer Island area, and we'd go into town, and it was the greatest city that you could ever experience. San Francisco and Seattle were my two favorites. And went off to college, came back, still an enjoyable place. And as time progressed and the lefties took over, demotion of officers that we wished we had more of, it just turned it into a sewer. And I'll go over there in the daytime, Ari, for maybe a Mariners game here and there,
mm-hmm.
and then sneak out, before it gets dark and hunker down over this side of the water.
Yeah, I don't blame you, especially when you got places like the Hardware Distillery out by you. I got to do a run up to the Hood Canal. I like the alcohol they make at that place. It's pretty good.
Next time out here, let me know, and I'll treat you.
Oh, you're a kind man, a very kind man. Totally hear where you're coming from, Jeff. And also something else about Mercer Island. So, they're almost done with that light rail. I say almost done. By that, I mean within the next 5 years, right? So as soon as that thing starts going, it's going to start moving people. And here's something else. My son is actually going to be doing a West Coast road trip back from camp down in California. And him and his cousin are planning on driving back here. And I told them, if you guys go to San Francisco, just go to Alcatraz and then get the hell out of the city. and definitely don't park your car anywhere that's not an indoor closed-in parking garage, because you're going to have all your stuff with you. I mean, if even Adam Schiff's stuff gets stolen in San Francisco, what's going to happen to everybody else's? Jeff, great call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one from Lori. I do not live in Seattle, but I do work in Seattle. And I avoid going to Seattle after dark for activities. Yeah, a lot of people say the same thing. From Kelly in Seattle, I live here in Northgate, have no desire to go to downtown anymore. I used to work there. Now I work from home. This one from Brett in Gig Harbor, avoid Seattle. I only go to a random Mariners game now. Yeah, this seems to be the ongoing theme on the text line. There's a lot of people saying avoid Seattle like the plague. This is what everybody's saying over on the text line. It's one after another, after another, after another. And they wonder why they're having tax revenue problems here, because people aren't spending their money in Seattle anymore. And you remember that article we said from the Seattle Times, what was it, last week sometime? Where it said that locals aren't traveling into Seattle anymore? Gee, I wonder why. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Bob in Milton. Bob, what's up?
Hey, I've been waiting a while to tell you this story about the wonderful work that the county sheriffs did. Before I would mention that I've known numerous people that have had their cars broke into, catalytic converters stolen, assault in downtown Seattle in broad daylight. And besides of all those things, we had a couple years ago a house sale across the street from us. Some people bought it, and after a few months, we started smelling this really strong skunk smell.
Mm-hmm.
And all the neighbors complained, and so we, over the year and a half or so it took, made numerous complaints, had numerous sheriffs out who said they are not manned or staffed to take care of anything, told us we definitely had a drug house, told us quite a few things about the people that were running it, and not until after 2 years of filing suits almost every month, or reports I should say, did the feds actually come in and bust this house.
Oh, wow.
And what I got from the operating officer was that there were 9 drug houses in the area all around South King County, North Pierce. They arrested all these people within a few weeks, and within, a day, they were out.
Yeah. Once you start doing that kind of stuff, once you start actually cracking down on it, it's the broken windows theory that we discussed earlier in the show today. Once you say we're not going to put up with this anymore, people get the message. And you're able to start clearing out these neighborhoods, right, Bob?
But no, you don't get it. They let them out.
Oh, they let them out. Oh, they let them out. Yeah.
They were out in a day. The federal sheriffs, or the feds, took them downtown, and within a day, King County had released them, along with all the other 9 houses. I did a follow-up call with the officer in charge, who informed me of, the same thing happening to the other people that were running these different houses around the county.
Oh, so that's the opposite of what I was saying, which means they release them and you have the same problem again and again. And if you actually enforce the law, you wouldn't.
No, I mean, this is you can't even make this up. It's like within 24 hours, they were out. And within a week, they were driving the same cars that weren't registered to them right back into the house. And I called the Fed guy and I said, hey, guys are back already. He goes, oh, it took them a whole week?
Oh, my God.
And then he explained to me the connection. It's actually a Chinese cartel running all of these houses out of California. That's why the feds came in and the county couldn't do it. But nonetheless, the King County, judicial system we have decided to be better if they just turn them loose, even though the federal detective told me they charged them with probably 9 counts of things that should have put them away for about 80 years.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm kind of shocked that Jeremy Lawson, the guy who assaulted journalist Cam Higbee, I'm shocked that a judge actually put bail on this guy. I'm shocked that he's actually still sitting in jail. I'm not shocked that they wouldn't show his face. Because what are they worried about? They're worried about people identifying this guy from a viral video he's already been identified in. So, yeah, it seems like nothing's really changed since your story. We still have these activist judges around here. Bob, great call. Great story. Appreciate the insight. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Carol says over on the text line, I was born in Seattle long ago. Now in Snohomish, and I won't go to Seattle without packing a heavy revolver. Okay, I can't reload a revolver as fastly as I can an automatic, so that's why I take one of those. Earl in Shoreline says, I avoid Harrell's hellhole. Have been since it was Durkin's dump. That's very clever. This one here from the 360. I will not go to Seattle unless I have Mr. Smith and Mrs. Wesson with me. Ah, very good. Very, very good. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from John in Lakewood. John, what's up?
Oh, I'm just, of course, every day there's a story about King County and Seattle and the progressives and the tolerance for the fentanyl and the rioting and the resistance of federal government. It all becomes so overwhelming. And Seattle is becoming such a crappy place, and everybody knows it, that the only thing I think our area has is the view from about 500 feet when you're coming into SeaTac, how cool that looks any time of the year. And that's the lure. And once you get here, this city and this county and this state puts its tentacles into you and starts draining you as fast as it can,
Well, that's why we discussed earlier in the show how now Seattle is the number one inflation city of any metro area in the entire U.S. So it'd be one thing if they're draining us dry with their tentacles, and then, on top of that, if we were getting good services, but we're not even getting those. Last time I checked, I hear I-5 is going to be shut down this weekend, right?
Yeah, and there's constant road construction even in my area where they're, I guess, doing sewer line replacements, water line upgrades. It's just a nonstop bog down, even locally.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one other thing. I think that Washington State should, if they want to change their flag, they should change it to an anglerfish. Because that's what Washington's become.
They get the hooks into you.
The jewel of our geography, and once you get here, man,
they get their hooks into you, and you can never leave. John, appreciate the call.
We're the anglerfish state.
Exactly. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Dan says, I used to live in Seattle. I work in Seattle regularly. I've added extra locks on my van doors and ladder racks because my tools have been stolen multiple times while working in Seattle during the day. I will not go to Seattle at night. 360 says avoid Seattle for any reason. From Forest Cat says I'm a rural resident, and when I visit downtown Seattle for some special occasion, I will not park anywhere except a parking garage with an attendant. My car has an American flag on the bumper. Definitely not safe in Antifa land. Yeah, that's the kind of sentiment, and it's sad. I don't like bashing Seattle. I really don't. You would think, what's rock bottom for us? Really, what do you think rock bottom is? Unfortunately, we've had so many opportunities where it was rock bottom. Let me give you a couple of examples. Do you remember in 2016, 2017, when our beloved Seattle City Council had the bright idea to put homeless people in parks? And everybody goes, are you insane? Are you insane? Then do you remember when the homeless problem really exploded and you had them everywhere? And then you said, okay, we're going to change the city council. Nope. Voted double down on making it worse. Then you remember the Summer of Love riots every weekend, never knew when a freeway or a street or whatever was going to be blocked, and the deadly autonomous zone. And we thought, oh, this is rock bottom. Here it is. We're going to turn around, and we elected a more moderate city council and what we thought was a more moderate mayor on the path back to normalcy. Nope. A lot of you are asking for my voter recommendations. I'm having trouble deciding who I'm voting for this time around. Don't worry, I'll make sure to give them to you. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Frank in Burien. Frank, what's up?
All right, how you doing today?
Doing good. It's a beautiful day,
that
right?
reminds me. It is a beautiful day. And the city looks beautiful from afar.
Yes.
The city reminds me of a song "Shattered" by the Rolling Stones. Which is originally about New York City, but the line that says "Go ahead and take a bite out of the Big Apple, just don't mind the maggots," that's exactly what's happened to Seattle.
Wait a second. Has
no
Jay
longer
Inslee
that
dropped
remote
off
city.
apples in Seattle too?
Yeah. Well, I bring that connection.
Frank, appreciate the call.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, appreciate the line. That's very, very good. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Steve in Port Orchard says, I only go to or through Seattle when absolutely, positively, unavoidably necessary. Can see it from here on the beautiful Kitsap Peninsula, but have no want nor need to be there. Yes, this is about right. This is the kind of stuff we're hearing. Ari, if I'm on the west side of the mountains during the summer, I'll venture into Lake Union with a boat in tow for the traditional Tuesday night duck dodge sailboat race. It's in its 51st year. Once on the water, it's not too bad because apparently heroin hobos have left politicians don't float. You remember that a couple of years ago? They had that floating boat of homeless people. They had the floating flotilla of the homeless. And I remember the best line I saw was a Star Trek knockoff. It goes, Captain, they've adapted. They're living under the bridges. You remember that insanity? They're living under I-90 and 520 and all the other stuff around there. One more call before we go to the break. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Mike in Everett. Mike, what's up?
If you ever want to have a good time and laugh at this city more, then all you have to do is take the tour of Underground Seattle.
I love the tour.
Doubling down on bad decisions. Over all of them.
By the way, it's like you get lobotomized when you go into government here. I love the underground tour. Me and my family, we call it the poop tour. But yeah, you're 100% right. It's all about how badly this city was run, how badly this city was built, how badly this city was governed. And it's very, very entertaining when it's not affecting you. So tourists love it. I look at it now and I go, nothing's changed.
What's more, they literally use the line, what do people in Seattle do when they make a bad decision? They double down on it.
Yep, exactly right. Glad to know the thing hasn't changed. You know what? I haven't been back in a while because my kids are kind of older, so maybe it's time to revisit the Seattle Underground Tour, otherwise known as the Poop Tour. Yes, the history of all our sewage problems and plumbing problems here in Seattle. My favorite line, Mike, is when they say, so you know what happens when you have all these sewage problems? You burn your city to the ground, that was my favorite line from it.
It worked.
I don't know, did it? I appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, I am now looking at the documents of Cam Higbee. I am looking at the documents of Cam Higbee being charged, not Cam Higbee being charged, the guy who attacked Cam Higbee being charged, Jeremy Lawson. And I've got some new details for you. We'll give them to you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Washington State Fair. Yet another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Before we get back to more of your calls and more of your texts during the final hour free-for-all, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
CBS is canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert at the end of next season. Now, this is more extreme than I thought. What they're doing is they're killing the entire Late Show. They're not just getting a new host. They're getting rid of The Late Show entirely. Is this the beginning of the end for late night TV? And if so, they did it to themselves. Why is Greg Gutfeld one of the best-rated late-night show hosts in all of TV? Because it's still funny. Because they remember to bring the funny. Now, it's a political show, but they said it's nighttime, so we're going to make it funny. We're going to try and bring the funny. I don't particularly find Greg Gutfeld that funny. That's just a me thing. It's a different humor kind of thing. But if we're going to be talking politics, we might as well make it funny. All the Late Show guys forgot to be funny. They're just political now. So what do you want to watch at the long day? You know, sometimes Mike tells me I forgot the funny during our show. We forgot to bring the entertainment and stuff. And when we do that, it's a more heavy show and we get less callers and we get less texts and we get less engagement. You guys listen to the afternoon show around here because you've had a day of politics. You want my spin on it and you want to hear Dr. Evil talk from time to time. And you want to hear the entertainment with it, which we try to give you. Stephen Colbert, it's such a shame because I love the Colbert Report. I love that when it was on Comedy Central. What happened to that guy? The vaccine dance and everything else? Yeah, so that's the end of The Late Show on CBS. It's all going away. This is all just going away. That's a direct quote from Stephen Colbert. I'm not sad about it, but is this the end of late night television? I'll say you guys did this to yourselves by thinking you're political pundits and not being funny. If you want to talk politics, then bash everybody equally. Donald Trump is one of the funniest people to make fun of. Everybody does it. And yet for some reason, you guys can't do it. You guys can't. Instead, you're just mean. And the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, you guys are terrible at making fun of them. Maybe that's why late night TV is dying.
Do you think that this is a financial decision from CBS and Paramount? They're getting ready for that merger with Skydance. I wonder if they're just trying to clear the decks.
Well, I'm sure that's part of it because Stephen Colbert probably makes a ton of money. He probably does. And they're probably going, why do we need an expensive host of a show that's not performing well anymore? Maybe we'll redo this whole idea. It'll be interesting to see what comes up with next. And is that a harbinger for the... By the way, I think the reason they're doing it in 2 years is because that's when his contract is up. They don't want to fire the guy and deal with litigation and all that. It's probably when Stephen Colbert's contract is up, but it is very clear from the announcement this was a network decision and not like him saying, you know what, I'm done after next year or something like that. No, this is very clearly CBS's decision. Hey, I'd rather watch Strange New Worlds than watch the Colbert Report. Give me 25 episodes of that every year, like the old-time Star Trek, as opposed to just the 10 episodes I got. By the way, Strange New Worlds, new season, streaming today. Yeah, check that out. Meanwhile, getting back to the local stuff, so Cam Higbee, his attacker Jeremy Lawson, Cam Higbee, the journalist who got assaulted allegedly by Jeremy Lawson during that riot in front of the federal building in downtown Seattle last month during one of those ICE riots. I'm looking at the charging documents, and there's some things in here that are bringing up more questions. Let me just read to you the narrative and see if the same things jump out at you that jump out at me. On the night of June 14th, approximately 100 protesters were protesting the Immigration Naturalization Service in front of the Henry M. Jackson Federal Building. They give the address. Also at the protest was independent journalist Cam Higbee. Higbee has been covering protests for several years, and his coverage has angered some people in the protest movement. At approximately 23:45, Higbee was sitting on the ground, leaning on a wall near the Federal Building. Higbee heard a distinctive voice say, "Cameron, it's time for you to leave." Higbee knew the voice as he had heard it before, and recognized it as Tyler M. Stubbs Hahn. Higbee did not have time to get completely to his feet when several people grabbed him and pinned him to the wall. Stubbs Hahn, wearing a red bandana, held Higbee down while other protesters grabbed him. This is the problem with viral videos, my friends. They don't get the whole thing because by the time you realize something's going on, you've already missed what triggered you to know something was going on in the first place. So there's a video of Cam Higbee getting assaulted. And what we see is Jeremy Lawson, and I have to keep saying the word allegedly, even though it's on video, allegedly assaulting Cam Higbee. And you see a bunch of people holding him as well. But if you have at least one of them identified, Tyler M. Stubbs, who, according to the charging documents, was holding Higbee down, that's assault also. So I reached out to the King County prosecutor, and I said, is Tyler M. Stubbs Hahn going to get charged also? And they said, we haven't gotten charging documents from the Seattle Police Department. So I reached out to the Seattle Police Department, and I said, is this guy Stubbs Hahn going to get charged as well? And we haven't heard back yet. If you have these guys identified, what's the holdup? The other thing we found out today, for those of you who weren't listening to the show earlier, is that one of the reasons Jeremy Lawson was being held on bail was because they were worried about him doing more violence. Because this is a guy who texted Cam Higbee, called Cam Higbee, and was trying to buy a gun. So he's trying to buy a gun and targeting a specific journalist. You guys waited 5 weeks before arresting this guy. 5 weeks. You finally arrested him yesterday. This happened back on June 14th. So a month you guys waited for this. So I got a question. Why isn't Tyler Stubbs Hahn, the one who started this whole thing, getting arrested as well? If this is a guy who literally said, Higbee, it's time to leave, and was holding him down, why hasn't he been arrested as well? When we come back, friend of the show, Julio Rosas, the author of Fiery but Mostly Peaceful, was testifying on Capitol Hill just the other day about the violence in Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles. And he's going to be joining us to tell us all about it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, yesterday, our friend Julio Rosas was actually testifying up on Capitol Hill. He's the national correspondent for The Blaze. And he was talking about the insanity we've been seeing out on the streets in response to ICE arresting criminals and deporting criminals. Here's a piece of what he told the people up in Congress.
I'm here testifying today as a proud Latino, but most importantly, I'm here as an American citizen. This is my country, this is my home, this is where I grew up in. And that is why the rhetoric coming from one side of the aisle about these operations saying, no, we got to keep our cheap labor so that we can maintain our standard of living proves that they want to view Latinos simply as a underclass to siphon votes from and fearmonger from every time that there's an election. They're content with keeping us as that servant underclass, and that is why it is disgusting to see them criticize that recent raid in Ventura County where they found unaccompanied minors working alongside convicted sex offenders at a cannabis farm. No, we got to keep them there because or else how else are we going to get high if we can't have unaccompanied minors harvest our weed? It's quite frankly despicable. And the last thing I want to say is that the last time I appeared before this committee, we had one member say that Antifa is just an ideology, it's not a movement, by using an outdated quote from the FBI director. Well, coming back from Los Angeles, Seattle, and Portland just this past month with the recent riots, I can tell you that Antifa is very real, and the fact that they are also connected to that recent attempted ambush at that ICE facility in Texas. So I just wanted to reflect for the record that I was right then, I'm right now, that Antifa is very real and they're very dangerous. Thank you.
I wanted to get up in the room and cheer, but I wasn't in the room. But you know who was? Our friend Julio Rosas, author of Fiery But Mostly Peaceful, joins us now on the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Julio, how you doing, buddy?
No, you should be happy you weren't in the room. The Democrats were just doing their typical obstruction and nonsense. So you didn't miss out on much.
Well, just so you know, a lot of us were cheering your entire testimony. It was really, really spectacular. Plus, I love how you gave it to him right between the eyes. So, like you said, you just got back from a lot of these places, including our very own Seattle. And what does it make you feel when you hear somebody like Karen Bass saying there were no riots in Los Angeles?
Well, it's typical, right? I mean, and to say, because she also says everything was fine in Los Angeles before June 5th or 6th or whatever. And the answer is no, everything was not fine. They had disruptive protests back in February. And I would know that because I was also in Los Angeles in February about this very thing. It got more violent as time went on, but they shut down the 101 back then as well. They had problems for a long time because it's been brewing. You know, it's been building up to this moment. And so that's why it's not surprising that I've spent a lot of time all up and down the West Coast in the usual hotspots because, after Los Angeles popped off, that was the catalyst to really just get things going because they have been waiting for an opportunity, these far left groups, to act out, not just online, not just amongst each other, but, out in public once and for all.
So I consider your book, Fiery But Mostly Peaceful, the definitive book on the summer of love of 2020. It also references our Seattle here, the autonomous zone. That's actually how you and I became friends, was we met during all that insanity. I've seen you at UW since watching that. This most recent round, it seemed like Seattle was, for lack of a better word, a little tamer because it didn't last as long as Los Angeles, but we're still seeing some of the same insanity. Would you still rank Seattle as one of the worst places in the country with regards to the radical activism from Antifa?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's because of that activism, that radical activism, is why Seattle is continually in its downward spiral. I mean, I was there. I went to the wharf. This is nice. But as soon as you walk out of that area, it's like, oh, okay, here's reality, right? I would say that it is because of that. And, I was in Tukwila as well when they were targeting Antifa specifically, was targeting the DHS building there. And so it's par for the course, right? And that's unfortunate because these cities can be good. These cities can be great. They were once great, and now they're not anymore. And I think that, with the crackdown that's going to happen, it's a little concerning because in Los Angeles and elsewhere, they had that initial outburst of rage back in June. And there hasn't been consistent riots since then, but it's because the radicals they're tweaking their tactics because random outbursts of violence didn't stop these raids. Los Angeles County is being inundated with them. They just did raids. Border Patrol just did raids up in Sacramento, so it didn't stop the raids. So we got to be more quote unquote smart and more quote unquote effective with our tactics, like following them, disrupting disrupting these operations in any way that we can, whether it's, putting nails, makeshift spikes on the road, or even, shooting at them like we saw in Ventura County. So, the violence is still with us. The violence is still there, but it's being done in a more targeted way, I would say. But of course, that's not to say that riots aren't going to happen again. I think they will. But the far left specifically they are actually trying to be effective in their eyes to prevent these arrests and to prevent these deportations. And that's really dangerous territory because it's hard to predict, like, if someone's going to place an IED somewhere.
In the last few minutes, we have with Julio Rosas, who also served as a U.S. Marine, and he knows about these insurgents and the kind of basis, the kind of stuff their tactics are based on. So do you think that the feds arresting these guys and actually hitting them with federal charges like we're seeing happen with regularity down in Portland, do you think that is encouraging them? Do you think it's discouraging them? Or do you think it's forcing them to change their tactics to something that might be more dangerous?
I think it is discouraging them a little bit. I one of the pages that I monitor, they have made note of that. They've said, hey, we want people to come down to the ICE building in Portland, but just so you know, like, they're actually throwing charges at us, which is so rare for them, right? So rare in Portland. But it's a new administration, thankfully, and they're going to do everything they can to hold people accountable for rioting out in the streets. So yeah, and again, I think that's another reason why they're going to want to shift their tactics a little bit. They still want to disrupt in any way they can, and that's one of the easiest ways to do that by being out in front of an ICE building. But I mean, you have to understand, people really lost their minds over this issue, despite the fact that we had a border crisis for 4 years, because that's the whole reason why. Well, a big reason why President Trump won a second term. But yeah, it's concerning. I've been very concerned for a long time because my top concern, and I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic, there's examples of this to where they either get tired or they are not being effective enough of targeting federal officers, ICE agents, DHS agents. So they're going to go for an easier target. They're going to go after Trump supporters because, after all, it was Trump supporters who put him back into office to carry out these immigration raids. So I would really caution people that be careful with showing support just because people are so crazy over this, and other issues as well with the Trump administration. And that would, especially in the Pacific Northwest, that would be my advice, just because I know, and being amongst these people, being amongst the crowds for my job, the energy and the anger is very, very palpable.
Yeah, we saw what they did to people's Teslas. National correspondent for The Blaze, author of Fiery but Mostly Peaceful, Julio Rosas, the man. Thank you so much for joining us today, and really appreciate you saying the message loud and clear on Capitol Hill so the media saw it and so that members of Congress saw it as well. Really, really, really do respect you for that, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Washington State Fair. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, here's some good news headlines for you. This one, it's a real story, but listen to the person's name. This is legit. This is from KATU out of Portland. U.S. Marshals and local police arrested a man on Monday who they had been looking for since Friday when they said he fired gunshots at police and led them on a high-speed chase. Police served a search warrant at the Doug Fir Apartments on Vista Loop Drive and took 42-year-old Looney John Franklin Toon into custody without incident. Yes, they took Looney Toon into custody. Police said when they pulled Toon... Sorry, I can't get through this. When they pulled Toon over early Friday morning, they discovered he had an active felony warrant for his arrest. Officers placed spike strips under the rear of Toon's SUV, but magically they reinflated because it was Benny the taxi cab. Not the dip. I can't read this seriously. They said they did not stop him from speeding away. Of course not. He's got Benny the cab. It's not dip. And leading police on a chase with speeds reaching 80 miles an hour while firing several shots at pursuing police. You mean those little guns? Yeehaw! No officers were arrested. Looney Toon abandoned his car near Eastmoreland Golf Course and ran away. Police took Toon into the Clackamas County Jail where he faces numerous charges, including first-degree attempted murder, first-degree assault, fleeing or attempting to flee from police, and an absolutely terrible name. Yeah. I can't take that story seriously. His name is Looney Toon. Oh, that's great. My father used to call us all a bunch of Looney Tunes. So, yeah, I have to tell him, no, there's actually a feller with that name. Meanwhile, Seafair is really upping their game this year. I noticed there's a whole lot more events that they didn't used to have. Or maybe I just didn't notice before, but I'm a pretty big Seafair guy. Now they have the Seafair Summer Music Series, which kicks off this week. It started last night. And they have music in really interesting locations. So last night started Music on the Water, which brings a series of 8 concerts aboard the Trek Ferry, turning the historic vessel into a floating stage. Guests will cruise Lake Union from 6 to 8 p.m., soaking in stunning city and water views while enjoying intimate shows from beloved local artists. The series launched with Aaron Crawford, known for his Cascade country sound, a little rock, a little country, and pure Northwest. Now, you've got ones on the 23rd, on the 30th, August 6th, 13th. So these are going on all the way through September because usually Seafair is over with what we know as Seafair with the Hydros and the Blue Angels and all that. But yeah, snacks and drinks are available for purchase on board. So this looks like a lot of fun. Also, they have Music in the Sky tomorrow, which is over at the Columbia Tower, Seattle's tallest building. Organizers say the Columbia Tower Club transforms into an intimate, high-altitude concert venue featuring performances by other talented local artists in a setting unlike any other. For this portion of the Seafair Summer Music Series, you'll get the best views in town, and the best price of all, it's free. It's a unique opportunity for the public to explore this exclusive club and experience live music from emerging and established artists. This sounds like a lot of fun. I should check with my wife and see if she wants to go see any of these bands. Before I forget, now is your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union, with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life for 30-plus years from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots of future financial storms. Don't blow your life savings away. Visit MadronaFinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last, but certainly not least, we are giving away 4 tickets to the Washington State Fair. It's time to do the Puyallup at the Washington State Fair and celebrate its 125th anniversary. By the way, they have a re-release of the Puyallup Fair song that they re-recorded this year. It's actually pretty nostalgic and fun, so check it out. With food, fun, and entertainment, the Washington State Fair has it all. Get your tickets now at thefair.com. That's thefair.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and 4 tickets to the Washington State Fair. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, that's going to do it for us today, my friends, but fear not. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, Fake News Friday, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.